factor.
Do I look weird? We're live.
Are we live?
We are live.
We are live. We are in the park in Dulco Park, Riverside, California. And instead of being on a split screen like last time,
We're side by side.
Side by side. Woohoo! And it's a beautiful, sunny California May.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Welcome.
Hey, Joseph. Hey, Joseph. How's it going?
Wave. Say hi. Let us know where you're from. Let us know you can hear us. It's a little windy, so maybe you can hear the wind, as you can tell.
Hey, Francis's cousin. BTS lover. Yes. Fake love. Aquaman. Definitely. Hey, Jocelyn.
Julie.
Sup, Joseph?
Ooh, Jordan.
Nice. Hey, Jordan.
Awesome. So you guys can hear us.
Thumbs up.
I feel like I look half asleep.
You don't look half asleep. Beautiful. On a beautiful day.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Jordy, yep. Okay, perfect, Jordan.
Yes, Joseph can hear us.
Perfect.
And yes, awesome. Yeah, some of you had stickers, right? Francis's cousin has stickers.
Us fellow Gators can hear you guys. Perfect.
Yeah.
Smash ball face. I love the usernames. You can hear the kids yelling in the background.
Exactly. It's like action. Eric, you're gonna be down here. Awesome. There's oh man, I'm not even wearing mine. The Shay Share Squad silicone bracelets are out.
Shares, it's epic. Woo-hoo.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you. So what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, so last time we talked about facing fear. This time we're going to be talking about leaving a legacy. Mm-hmm. And I just love, you have this beautiful story about something that occurred in your life and in terms of some questions that spurred on from that interaction with that event, if you can call it an interaction.
Yes.
So if you want to start us off with your story that you told me.
Sure. So, I mean, there's a lot of things in my life. And what do you guys think when you think of leaving a legacy? Like, what comes to mind, right? What prompted a thought for me regarding leaving a legacy was I was it was a few months before turning 26 years old. It was February 2011, and I was driving to Toronto in Canada. And it was snowing, and it was raining, and it was 8 p.m., and I got into a car accident with no one, just myself, because I started sliding on the highway, and I started losing control of the car. I end up spinning from the far left speedy lane, spinned face forward in traffic on the right lane, and I hit the snow. It's Canada, it's February, lots of snow. My car hit the snow, and I just rolled off in a ditch, and I landed back on my wheels on the car. I had to climb out of this ditch, and I wish I could show you guys how tall or how deep the ditch was. But in that moment when I was in the car and I could see trucks and cars coming at me, I'm just pushed myself in the seat, and I'm thinking there's nothing I can do. This is it. A car hits me right now. It's going to throw me off, and I'm done. And the thought that came to mind, no, it was not light flashing through my eyes. I had three major thoughts. One, in 3 weeks, they all live in Europe. And every time we speak, we don't necessarily feel very affectionate with each other. We don't tell that we love each other. And we may even get into arguments at times. So my mom will be so devastated because probably it will take months for her to hear that something happened to me. No one speaks Romanian in my circle of friends in Canada. And my family doesn't speak English. So I thought, whoa, they're going to take months until they find out that something happened and I'm gone. So my mom will suffer. And the third thought was, I'm 25. I just got confirmed out of my divorce. And if I were to die now, what do I leave behind?
Total legacy stuff.
Yeah. What is my life all about? What would people remember about me? How would they talk about me if they were to think of me? I did not feel like I left any impact. I was going to work. I wasn't happy. I just got out of a marriage. I was really unhappy. And I didn't feel like I was contributing in any way to society or to life in general. So in that moment, after I realized nothing happened to me, I landed back on my car wheels and I'm like checking my face just to see nothing is broken and I can move. And someone saw me disappear off the highway, a trucker. So he stopped and helped me get out of the car, then called the cops and so on.
And you said you were checking to see if there's any red on your hands,
Yeah,
right?
because I couldn't comprehend. I was in so much shock because I could see my hair flying, and this was the weirdest experience. Like time flew by, like in a second. I spinned off and I just like flew off the highway, but then it slowed down and I could see my purse flying off of the car and everything.
Total movie stuff.
It was very, very strange. But a few months after is what prompted me to focus more on what am I leaving behind? Like, what's my story? How am I making an impact in the world? And that triggered, of course, coupled with my divorce and a few other things, struggles financially and all that. It was just such a catalyst for me to say, this is it. I cannot continue living my life like this. I want to be happy. I want to enjoy my life. And I want to at least make an impact in one person's life before I leave.
Yeah.
Because if that person remembers me and says, Alexandra was able to support me or help me, or seeing her lead her life and live her life happy and fulfilled made me want to do the same. And that's the trigger that made me think of all these things. Like, what do we leave behind? Are we happy? Are we fulfilled? How do we live our life? Because we all have a purpose on this earth. Even if we may not see it or recognize it, it's there. It's within us.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I think I love Disney movies, and one of my favorite Disney movies is Beauty and the Beast. And one of the things that they talked about in one of the songs is the fact that we live to serve. I think it's that song, Be Our Guest. And I think the fact that, you know, if you're here's my little, I won this at a raffle today. If you're a cup, your purpose is to have someone drink out of it, right? And I think the fact that, you know, here's my phone. Actually, there's multiple uses for the phone, but the object itself has a reason for existing. And by using that item, it lives its purpose, right? It serves a function. And I think as we as human beings, we're here to connect and to bring meaning into each other's lives, to love and to be loved. And one of the things that I've been saying recently is about really embracing YOLO. But you actually said the fact you had a different perspective on YOLO.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw a quote the other day I mentioned, and it's with Winnie the Pooh, and it says, we only live once, and the tiger says, no, you only die once. We live every single day, and we should live every single day like it may be the last day. But in a sense, to me, YOLO comes probably in certain aspects from a culture of like, oh, I'm gonna like do it all and everything into one day, but then it flips onto the opposite side where abuse and harm to your own body happens. To me, living fully every day is about enjoying my life. It's about living an impact, living a mark, leaving a legacy, and think that at that day when I only die once, I can be at peace and say, I've done everything that I wanted to do. There's no regrets. And even though sometimes I had ups and downs or failures or things that didn't work out, I actually am happy with how my life turned out. And I can see that in the legacy I leave out there. I can see that in the people around me because they will reflect back to me the impact, and they will reflect back at me the point that I could lead by example and showcase life can be good, life can be different, life can be better. I do have a question here. I saw someone saying, who cuts themselves at home? Are you referring like you're cutting your skin? Is that what you're talking about? I would love to know what you're referring to that. And do reach out if you need someone to talk to.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting that you bring up this whole cutting thing, because I learned not too long ago that the reason why people cut is because the fact they want to feel something. And the reason why is because when your body is always in the present, so when you cut, what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring your mind into the present state, because your mind is either thinking about the past or thinking about the future. And one of the things I think that's important for all of us to recognize is to live life to its fullest so that you can leave a legacy means the fact that you have awareness. And one of the things I learned, I remember being at Planet Fitness and I was in the locker room and suddenly, I mean, I just talk to people, right? Well, this guy said something to me that really stuck out. He says, I believe that we should drink to remember, not to forget. Because a lot of times people drink alcohol to try to forget things. And actually, you and I have something in common. We actually don't drink. And part of it is because we've seen people in our lives who do drink. And a lot of times it's because of self-medicating, right? They're trying to forget things. And I think if you were to really live life to its fullest and you live every single day, right? So if it's YOLO is you only live once, and if YODO is you only die once, then every single day you have an opportunity, you have a decision to make, and that is, are you going to be living life? But if you're trying to numb your life, either by cutting or by drinking alcohol or by taking drugs, and you're trying to suppress your senses, then you're actually never really living fully. And when you don't do that, then it's hard to leave an impact because you're barely able to manage yourself. And I say over and over again, there's only one person in this world that I can control, and that's me. That's it. Other people I can influence, I can encourage, I can inspire, but bottom line, I am the only person that I'm fully responsible for.
Yeah, and you have, like, we believe we have control, or we try to control so many things in our life, and I don't believe it's necessarily about controlling things. It's about recognizing the person we are with all the time is ourselves, and what we can control is our thoughts, our actions, and reactions. And if things don't work out the way we want, or things don't turn out as we want, it's our action, reaction, and the thoughts we put towards that impact how we continue our life. So if we want to enjoy our life, and if we want to have a great life, even in face of adversity, even when you face hardship or down situation in your life, just change the thoughts. Look at what you're learning in that experience, and look at how can I move out of this situation into something better. Some
of you might have seen, like on YouTube with Tony Robbins, the famous coach. And one of the things he says, where your focus goes, your energy flows, right? And so much of that is our language and the self-talk that we have, right? So the way that we speak to ourselves oftentimes spills into how we speak to other people. So when you listen to people's language, and maybe at times they sound not so nice, a lot of times that's the same internal dialogue that they're having with themselves. So I think that's where compassion comes in, right? And also, I mean, we all go through times where we may be extra moody, or we're going through a difficult time. You know, I went through a divorce recently, and it was challenging. But learning to talk yourself with compassion, self-forgiveness, all of those, by healing, like almost like a net, right? Like, let's say you're going to catch fish. When you patch those pieces, then you're able to actually use that net for a purpose. So it's hard to move into legacy if you're having a hard time doing the day-to-day living, right? So I think it's the difference between surviving and thriving. How do we not just survive in this life, but how do we thrive in this life? If we're thriving, then we're passing on. We have overflow to give. If we're surely surviving, all we're trying to do is just getting enough air so that we can breathe, not necessarily swimming towards a direction.
Yeah. And it's not like our life is perfect.
No.
It's not like I figured out life now and I'm all good to go. I believe I figure out how to work with my mind and what words I use to myself, towards myself. Do a lot of self-love and self-care. Spend time with myself if needed. Do journaling. Rest. Oh my God, rest is so important for our mind to be clear and to be capable to tackle on what life hits us with, because life is meant to have those wave moments, up and down, up and down. And the difference for me now is that I enjoy life on my own terms, and I will be faced with adversity, but I react to it differently and I interact with it differently. And I may be stuck in an airport for hours because my flight got canceled or delayed, and I could be angry and pissed and annoyed, and I'm staying in that state. Or I could read a book, I could listen to something, I could call a friend, like I could switch my mood. And when I look around, everyone is like, because they have to wait extra hours at the airport. Meanwhile, I'm having a blast because I'm like, oh, I'm not cramped into a seat for 3-4 hours. I'm actually here in the airport. I can move around. I can actually get internet, and I can do my work. So it's reframing how we tackle all these things.
I really do believe the fact that as we go through our day, it's almost like we have a highlighter, and we highlight events in our life. And then, like what people do, like in studying, is they annotate the side of the margin. And I think we highlight, and then we write, you know, life loves me or life hates me. And at the end of the day, you look back on your day, and then you ask yourself, like, what kind of day did I have? But I think if we train our brain to go, you know what, this didn't go exactly my way, but it wasn't that bad. I was able to do something else. And as we do that, I think we start feeding a positive a relationship with us in life. And I think when we can see the fact that life is bringing us abundance, bring us blessing, then I think when we have that, then we start seeing that in other people, and we can also encourage other people when things are going on. A friend of mine messaged me saying the fact that there was a friend who passed away, and she didn't use the word funeral. She called it a celebration of life. I didn't even say I'm sorry. All I said was, I didn't know this person, but enjoy the celebration, right? What a different type of perspective. I was also meeting this other woman who said that her son died at 20 years old. And I said to her, I said, wow, your son gave you 20 years of his life. What a blessing. You must really love him. And tears started welling in her eyes. And instead of focusing on the fact that, she was a victim of the situation, seeing the fact that there was a gift, that he served his time. And then her energy shifted. She wasn't thinking, woe is me. She was thinking, you're right. I had 20 beautiful years with my son. And I think if we can start doing that with each other more and more and more, I think that is like those little Lego pieces that we build a legacy.
Yeah.
Because it's in our day-to-day interaction that we build our legacy. Over time, a legacy is built. But it's not like you do one big thing. You write one fat check, and no one's like, that's your legacy. This building is named after you. It's in these interactions we have with each other that you're like, wait, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And yet you're still continuing trying your best.
Yeah, and it's one step at a time, and it's one action at a time that accumulates over time.
Yes.
I had a lot of girls bully me in school, and I always felt so shy and nervous, and the girls were always mean, and I felt always like people would make fun of me. I used to wear thick glasses, and my mom would style my hair and my clothes until like I was close to high school, and I always felt like a little bit of an outsider. But I never turned into the same person. I did not respond with more anger because I did not want to fuel that, and I was still kind and still loving, and I would probably remove myself from situations that were not supportive. And I continued doing that. And when I saw someone going through the same issue or through the same situation, I was there for them. And I was able to recognize that even though people make fun of me or made fun of a situation that I was going through, they are going through something harder deep down. They don't necessarily show on the surface what's going on and why they're acting the way they're acting. So in a sense, I feel compassion and love for these people because they probably also deal with some stuff in their life that we don't know about.
That's really true. Someone asked about, I think BTS Lover asked, Mr. Sun, what can I do to help my friends not to cut themselves?
Well, I don't know what. Can you help me cut the watermelon? I'm so confused.
I'm not sure what that means. We just bought some watermelon, actually. We need to cut that up. But yeah, in terms of cutting and how you can help, I think one of the ways that in the past I've heard hospitals use, instead of cutting themselves, they used to have people put a rubber band and they would snap. And all it was to create a little pain, but not too much pain. But what they discovered is that people were actually pulling the rubber band really taut and really causing some scarring. So there was one evening where Anna, my daughter, was having night terrors, and she was screaming like someone was after her. So what I said was, Anna, I was trying to like wake her up from that state, but she wouldn't wake up. So I said, Anna, Dad will be right back. So I went to the refrigerator and I got a Ziploc bag and I put ice cubes inside the Ziploc bag. I sealed it and I went to Anna and I said, Anna, hold on to these ice cubes. Hold on. It will hurt a little bit, but it will not hurt you permanently at all, right? She held on. And what happened was her brain was forced to feel the heat or the cold that almost became heat-like, right? When something's so cold, it gets warm. And she slowly, gradually was able to step out of her mind and into her physical sensation. Because again, her body was in the present. So this might not seem like a big deal, but in the moment, sometimes our emotions take us over and we're fully offline. We cannot even access very much. So sometimes what we have to do is we have to shock our system into our body. One of my favorite lines, and let's see if I can get this right, is from Kung Fu Panda. Okay, it's not because I'm Chinese, but because Kung Fu Panda is an awesome movie. But Wu Gui says to says to Sifu, I believe, it was one of them, and says, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a present. That's why it's called a gift. And I really believe the fact that the more we can get into our present moment, the more that we'll have access to our senses, the more that we'll feel alive. And I think this is something that I've really learned from Alexandra, is the fact that she really tries to be very mindful of where she is today. And I just think the fact that it's such a beautiful, inspiring way of living. So you're not constantly thinking about your past, constantly thinking about what's going to happen in the future, but just in this moment, what is life like?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we can change the past and we cannot create something that's not there yet. It's not like the sun would show up earlier than it should show up, right? So
she's not talking about me either.
So the best time is to be in the present moment. Yes, we have our past history and we have our past stories, and some of them helped us learn things. Like a lot of the stuff from my past, from high school, from primary school, from my young adult age, taught me a lot of things. but I don't let them impact my present. I don't hold on to stories that are not supportive. I enjoy remembering great things and good memories, and I enjoy recalling the lesson that I learned when things weren't the best. But now is the only thing I have. Now I'm present, I'm here, I'm with you, I'm talking, I'm spending time in the sun, in nature, I'm singing, I'm dancing, I'm writing, I'm doing things that support me now. And of course, when tomorrow comes, I am in the now again because today would be gone. So I love that practice and that mentality, because it helps you be more present, even with yourself, not just everyone else around you.
I think here's the irony, almost like you being in your present is in my mind almost a part of your legacy, right? So even though the legacy is a future tense thing, I feel that even inspiring other people to be in their own present is a part of that.
Yeah. Amazing. So a lot of the things I see here in this chat, you guys, I'm confused. I don't know, it's because I am not from North America and I may be lost in some of the things mentioned there. But if you have any questions for us, or you have anything you want to bring up, now is the time. Before we wrap this video up, shoot, any questions, anything you want to know, any advice you're looking for?
And while you're thinking about that, I do want to say this as a teacher, and we're wrapping off this school year, and kids have been writing eulogies. So they've been, thinking in terms of what their life is going to be like from the time they're born until they're 85 years old. And I have to say that it's been beautiful to be able to see what kids have said about their own life from 0 to 13, 14 years old, and then to also envision what your life is going to be like. And I think a lot of times we don't necessarily take time in the present to think about the future, not dwell in the future, but just in our minds, where would we like to see ourselves? Some of you may have heard of a vision board, something to put down pictures, images, words, to allow you to envision what is it, the fact that you would love to see take place. I think the value of that is to be able to see what are some common themes, what are some things that are what do you call it, the core
values?
Yeah, the core values, things that really, really align with your vision of how you want to see your life. And what I believe is the fact that if we haven't a general idea of where we want to go, like the North Star, if you remember the movie Moana, and Moana was so guided by those stars, right, in the sky. And I think if we all have some of these stars in our life that are consistent, then when we go to high school, we go to college, we go to our workplace, military, wherever we go, and there's other people that have maybe different values that don't align with us, then we don't have to sail in that same direction. We can sail with other people that are going in the direction that we envision for ourselves. And they say the fact that we're the product or the average of like 4 or 5 people in our lives. And I believe the fact that if you can sail with the people that have similar values and vision, then you go places. I mean, this is where I'm so glad the fact that we met, because we align in a lot of ways. And it's been amazing to have these conversations where we spur each other on and ask ourselves to really think. And we have had plenty of disagreements and arguments about things, but it's been always productive. It's always been constructive. It's always been about how do we level ourselves up? How do I become Shay 3.0? How can I be a better person so that I can leave that legacy behind?
Yeah. Well, I don't see any question. So
some of you guys are asking about merch. I do. ShayShop.online is live right now, and there's only 50 of those or pop sockets. So if you want to order those, go ahead and do that. And also there's some bracelets, silicone bracelets for $275 plus shipping. So that's something else you can order. Some of you guys got those stickers. Please make sure the fact that you do place them on things. I think I saw one on a bicycle, one on a computer, one on cups, backpacks. Please do that. Share out. One of the reasons why it's so important in my mind, the fact that Shay Shares goes well, is not just because of me. It's about the whole attitude of sharing aspects of our lives, the aspects of our lives where we have experienced transformation, so that it will inspire other people. And I believe the fact that the more inspiration that goes around the world, the better. I do think the fact that there's a difference between motivation and inspiration. When you motivate, there is a pushing energy, and there are times where I do try to motivate people. But when you inspire someone because of their life, there's a lighter energy. It's like uplifting them. And I believe the fact that our stories, things that we go through, are interesting to people because people are interested in other people. Like I love talking to you and hearing your stories of Romania and different parts of the world you visited, because I'm so curious of what that might be like for me, or might be for someone that I love. So I just really, really encourage all of you as you listen to these Shay Shares, and as I bring guests like Alexandra on, the fact that all of you take the time. It doesn't have to be on a live. It doesn't even have to be recorded. But when you're sitting together over dinner and your mom and your dad ask you, So, how was your day? If there's any moments where you're like, hey, I really stepped out of my comfort zone, then share. Or maybe the fact that you're newly married and you're getting to know each other with one another, right? So before falling asleep, maybe you're like, wait a second, maybe there's something that's really on my heart that I want to bring up. Bring it up. Or you're a parent, right? And you're driving in the car and your kid is in the back and suddenly they seem extra quiet. Maybe probe a little bit. Or maybe instead of probing, maybe say, you know what? It's interesting. I kind of had a hard day today too. But you know what? I went to Starbucks and some guy in front of me paid for my coffee. You know what? There are good people in this world. Whatever it is, let's all take the opportunity to share little drops. Because what is that saying? Isn't the ocean just made up of little drops? Something like that, right?
Yes. Moments of compassion and care and showing love around. At the end of the day, to me, that's what life is supposed to be, showing care and love to other people. It's not meant to be necessarily just loving another person that you want to meet as a partner.
True.
It's about loving a friend, loving a coworker, loving a colleague, loving the world and nature, because we all want to feel love in our life.
Thank you for the cool TS ever. I believe that the reason why, and if there's any coolness in me, is because other kids who are cool recognize that in me. Cracks like. And so when we recognize something in other people, we're recognized in ourselves. And that's the reason why I appreciate Alexandra so much, is because of the fact that when I look at her, there's parts of her that I see in myself. And that allows me to actually go through my day. Doesn't matter if I'm at Best Buy, Costco, Target, wherever I meet someone's like, oh my gosh, that person was so kind. And being kind is such an attractive quality. Like Alexandra said, not just in terms of like dating, but just as a human, just be nice to each other, right?
Yeah. And before we wrap, I want to say that some comments on the chat, I would encourage you guys to be more kind with each other.
Yes.
And not poke fun at other people's beliefs and preferences and anything that we choose to do in this life. Try to actually recognize that you can make someone's day. And by just putting comments that make no sense or just poking fun at others or being mean, I do not believe that it will support your life, and eventually will come back to bite you because someone else will do that to you. Trust me, I've seen it happen. So thank you for posting and for engaging and for commenting, but I want to encourage you and highly challenge you to be kinder in your day, be kinder in your comments, be kinder online. We deal with a lot of bullying in our life at school, online, and we see the dramatic and tragic effects of that. So acts of kindness. I encourage you and I beg you to do more acts of kindness.
It's interesting. One of the conversations that Alexandra and I have a lot about is about words. And there's something magical about words. Like words have power. Words are energy. It really has power. Think in terms of like when someone tells you, I care about you, or I'm thinking about you, or I love you. And then think about when someone says, you know what, I can't stand you, get away from me. All of those have extreme physical reactions in our body. When my daughter was really, really young, really young, the only way for me to explain the world to her was using Transformers, because I had Transformers. And I said, Anna, there are really two kinds of people in this world. There are Autobots and there are Decepticons. And Autobots help and Decepticons hurt. Well, what do you like to see happen in this world? Do you want people around you to act like Decepticons, or do you want them to act like Autobots? Well, the only way for us to want that in the world is to first make sure the fact that we can see in ourselves. And I truly believe none of us are perfect. We're all in the states of transformation. So maybe just as we go through our day, ask ourselves, how are we acting? If you are, let's say you're acting 75% a Decepticon one day and the other Autobot, then maybe the next day make those little shifts. Maybe it's in the comments that you make through chats, or maybe where you're posting on social media. But ask yourself, if everyone in the world chatted that way, or if everyone posted that way, how would that feel? What would be the energetic feel around the globe? Would it produce more peace and happiness? It's very easy for us to say things like, I wish for world peace. But if we ourselves aren't experiencing peace, giving it, how then do we pass it on to other people?
And this is a legacy again. How do people remember you? As being rude and mean and bullying others or making very harsh comments, negative comments, or someone who was there for others, who was supportive and encouraging and loving?
Yeah, one of the things that Alexandra has talked a lot about is the whole idea of ripples. I take a pebble and I drop it on a peaceful lake. And when it hits the water, it creates ripples. But I think the ripples are both. Like when you do acts of kindness, it ripples. But when you do something mean, it also creates ripples also. It's a both and. And so then we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing in this world? And the ripples could be, it doesn't have to be all across the globe. You make a ripple and your closest friends or your people in your family feel it, or your teachers feel it. We all, the people in your close vicinity, they're the people that are impacted the most. So, but I just love this talk, because leaving a legacy sometimes feels like it's like after I die. But I don't think it has to be that case.
It's every day.
It is every day. Every interaction that we have, what kind of legacy are we leaving?
Yeah.
Because we might not see that person anymore. It might just be a short time.
And how will someone remember you? I remember people from my school who were hurtful to me, and that's what I remember about them. I don't know where they are now or what they're doing. They may have turned their life around, but that's what stuck with me, because they gave me a hard time as a kid or a teenager. And I remember people now in my life who are so kind and loving that regardless where they are in the world, I'll always think of them with fondness and with care.
Yes.
So
yeah, I think this is a good time to wrap up.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts? Are you good?
No, my advice always is be in the present, be in the now, and be full of love and kindness to others, because you don't know what you can create in someone's life. I know stories of people who are on the verge of suicide, and a smile and a good word towards them turned their life around. So you are more impactful than you believe.
Yes. I always think that do not underestimate your value or your power, and do not overestimate it. There is a balance.
Yeah.
And every single human being that we come in contact with, we can either put a smile on their face, or we continue having them stay in the state of not being happy. But why do that? I mean, I love feeling happy. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I want to make sure the fact that people, and in a genuine way, if people are sad, then I want to hold space for them to be sad, but then also encourage them also, right?
Yeah.
So again, transform yourselves, inspire others, and change worlds. That's what we're about, and we encourage you to be a part of that movement also.
And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Use that.